The three best bookkeeping software applications according to bookkeepers. As I mentioned in the write-up, there's no question about the top two. Which one is better than the other? You're going to have to ask a bunch of bookkeepers yourself to find out. The opinions vary, and it really depends on what a person's criteria is, I think, for what they're looking for in an accounting application. And we're focusing on cloud-based applications here. So we're talking about QuickBooks and Xero, which are probably kind of neck and neck if you ask all the bookkeepers out there in terms of which is the best one. And then the third one after that, I'm going to go with Sage 1. Sage 1 is perhaps what I might even go as far as to call an unsung hero in this genre of applications. It probably should be better known or more widely utilized than it is. I really love the Sage 1 interface. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to go through it kind of in the reverse order. I'm going to look at Sage 1, then Xero, then QuickBooks Online. And we're going to look at two major areas of each of these applications so you can kind of see, as I mentioned in the write-up, the area that's probably of greatest concern to the small business owner are the bank feeds, because if anything, that's going to be what they're dealing with the most, or their bookkeeper perhaps is going to be dealing with that the most, which is just managing the bank feeds and making sure transactions get downloaded from the bank and credit card accounts and coded into the right place. If you ask an accountant like me, especially somebody like me who kind of works at the CFO level, or the CPA or enrolled agent who's doing the taxes, what they're going to be most concerned about is likely the reporting, because that's what we rely most heavily on. And if you've watched a few of my videos so far here on the Fundera Ledger, then you've no doubt figured out that I think the reports are pretty darn important. And if anything, my hope is to encourage small business owners to spend more time than they do, not just looking at those reports, but getting together with your accounting professional and looking at them together, so that you can provide the operational knowledge, they can provide the accounting knowledge, and together the two of you can form the complete picture of what's going on when you look at the financial statements and what it says about what you can or should be doing as far as making decisions about where to go with your company. You have a goldmine of information in those financial statements, and they probably should be leveraged more than most currently are. So let's take a look at my screen, and we're going to start with Sage 1 Accounting. Now, Sage 1 is not free. They all cost money. You're going to pay a monthly subscription for any of these. Sage 1, there's no sample company that you can play with per se. So a long time ago, I downloaded some transactions so that you could get a look at what the bank feeds look like. And that's what we're looking at here. Is I took you right into the bank feeds in Sage 1. And as you can see on the left hand, it shows here's what we got from the bank. Over here on the right, you can choose to either match it if you want to try and find a match to something that's already recorded on your books, or if there's not a match in there, if you know you haven't already recorded it, then you choose create, and here you'll select a contact. Who did we pay, right? And then which account does it go to, right? And then of course you have a reference, and here you can indicate the payment method, whether it was check or cash or electronic credit or debit card or PayPal. So pretty straightforward. And over here we can click on this and get into some more details if we need to enter more detailed information about this transaction, specifically if we need to split it perhaps amongst two or more accounts in terms of what the expense was for. So that's the bank feeds area in Sage 1. Nice clean, nice clear interface. I've always liked this product a lot. Now let's go over and take a look at the reporting. So if I go back, let's see, if I go home, and let's go over to reporting. And if I just click on reporting, it takes me into the reporting area. Now, Sage has done a great job of providing you with, a lot of the most important reports, standard reports. I have my profit and loss. A sales day book, is a really cool report to look at. I don't have time, of course, to go into detail on a lot of these, but I just want to give you the overview of what these look like. We have the standard stuff. The cash flow forecast is great. It's going to look at your payables and receivables to help determine what we expect to have in the bank at a given point in the future. And then, of course, the cash flow statement itself. The unreconciled bank transactions is one that none of the others include as a standard by default. And all the others I can customize it, and that's what I frequently do. The fact that they've included it, I think, is great. So you have a list of reports. What you don't have, unfortunately, is the ability to customize a report. So I can go in, I can look at a profit and loss And let's look at last year so that we'll get some information here. I can click in on a number. I can drill in through the report and see the details, what makes it up. But there's no ability to go in here and customize it. And say I wanted to, for example, click into advertising expense and maybe filter or subtotal this, or do something else with it to present the information. Here there's only one transaction, but imagine if there were lots of transactions, you'd want to have the ability to further customize this, right? You can filter it, right, but you can't really customize it to say, give me a total by vendor within this report or something like that. And that's the kind of thing that comes up a lot. So that's the reports, the standard reports in Sage 1 are amazing. The reason why it's probably number 3 and not 1 or 2 is, in my opinion, of course, and this is strictly my opinion, is here, because my big focus is on the reporting, and in the reporting I can't go any further than what they've provided in terms of customizing information. I could export it to Excel and do it there, but as much as possible I want to avoid having to do that. So that's Sage 1. Let's take a look at Xero real quick. Here we are in Xero. Xero does have a demo company that you can access online very easily. And here is the bank feeds area, where again on the left-hand side is what came in from the bank. On the right-hand side is what's in Xero. And as you can see, it will find matches for me. I can confirm if it is in fact a match, or across the top I can click Create, or I can say it's a transfer between, let's say, 2 bank accounts, or I can discuss. So this is a really helpful feature that Xero has. This is kind of Xero's own thing, where you can actually, if the client is in here, they can write a question, or if I'm the accountant and I'm trying to do it, I can write a question and ask the client, hey, what's this transaction all about, right? So the other thing Xero has that a lot of people love here is the cache coding. The cache coding, as you're going to see in a second, gives you a spreadsheet-like layout in terms of all the transaction. Makes it really easy to just kind of batch process all the transactions that came in and get them in quickly. Just coding the account, of course, and the payee is here. But as you can see, if you needed to, you could get in and change the payees very quickly and easily. And you can use your keyboard, your tab key, to quickly move around the screen. So the cache coding part of Xero is really cool. A lot of people love this. Here you get into your bank statements, sort of according to Xero. Xero, the statement balance, which is what comes from the bank, is sort of a calculated balance. It's not actually pulled from the bank. Assuming you get the right starting balance in there, it's never going to be an issue, because it's just adding up the transactions that came in from the bank to arrive at what the new balance is each day. Now, the next thing we can look at here are the account transactions. And this is kind of like your check register in Xero. This is where you can go in, and you do have some powerful search capabilities here where you can restrict it based on a specific date range or look for a certain amount. So a lot of times if I'm trying to tie out what might be off on a monthly statement in Xero, I'll use this and I'll just set the dates based on the statement period, whatever it is, let's say January 1st to January 31st, 2017. So that's Xero's bank feeds. Xero was, I think, originally got most popular very quickly when they first kind of came onto the scene in the US, because they had a really, really good bank feeds area. Really easy to work with, really easy to use. Now let's look at their reports. So if I go over to Xero's reports, I'll just go to all reports to start with, and we'll see that Xero, like Sage 1, has lots and lots of standard reports. Right, so, and they broke it down into categories. So here's my financial, my balance sheet, my budget manager, my cash summary, the income statement, movements in equity. I expanded that balance, again the balance sheet. This says new. I don't know what the difference is between these two. I suppose I'd have to click in and find out. They do have a statement of cash flows. I'll click in here, and let's see if they've changed it any. No. So what I don't love about their statement of cash flows, and I've been very vocal about this, is it's what's called the direct method. And if you watched my video on the statement of cash flows over here on the Fundera Ledger a couple weeks ago, then you heard me talk about why I prefer the indirect method for the statement of cash flows. And I knew that was an issue I had with Xero. That's why I was sort of curious while I was here to click over there and check it out. The downside, again, like with Sage 1, is that there's no real ability to customize reports in here. So for example, if I go in and run a balance sheet, and here's a classic example of what I want to do almost all the time. Let's just say that This is the balance sheet date. Let's say we're looking at accounts payable, right? So I want to be able to go into accounts payable here. And where this really comes up most often is where I take customer deposits, right? That's a liability. It shows up in the same part of the balance sheet. I want to be able to go in there, and then I want to be able to total it by customer, right? Because I want to see how much I have on deposit from which customer. So I want to be able to customize this. And here in this version of the balance sheet, I have no ability to do that. The only thing I can do here is filter it. This balance sheet is the new balance sheet. So let's go there. Yep, this is what I'm looking for. So if I go in here and I want to go into, for example, a liability account like accounts payable, here's where I've got more options. Report settings. So again, if this were not accounts payable and it was customer deposits, a liability account, what I owe my customers who have prepaid me, I would want the ability to group this by customer. And I don't have that option. The other thing I might want, especially now that I'm in accounts payable, is I might want the ability to group this by vendor. And again, no option for that here. So there's some limitations on Xero's reporting, which is why ultimately, in my own firm, I settled in on QuickBooks Online. And that's what we're going to take a look at now. First, we'll look at the bank feeds, then we'll look at the reports. So in the bank feeds, you'll see this screen, in some respects, is very much like Xero's cash coding screen. You have a similar kind of layout in that I have my columns and my rows, and it's very easy to get around here and add in transactions quickly. It also will show me in one click where all the recognized ones are, so I can often just check them all off and get them all in right away. So the bank feeds area in QuickBooks Online is great. I'd say that the bank feeds for all three of the products are all really, really good. I have no complaints about the bank feeds on any of them. So that's the bank feeds area. What I often do with my own company is I get to the recognized, I can pretty much in a click look at these and say, okay, this is all good, I add them in, and then I just focus on whatever remains that isn't recognized, usually just a handful, and once I've added those in, they'll get recognized the next time that a transaction comes up with any of those payees. Going back now to reports, QuickBooks Online has a bunch of standard reports just as the others do. And they also have a custom reports area where I can go in and I can create custom reports. Now here, if I run a balance sheet, and let's see what we've got. So here is, we've got credit cards. I'm just trying to see if they happen to have a customer deposits type account. They don't, but look what I can do with accounts payable. So same kind of comparison. If I go in here, first of all, right at the top here, without having to click in anywhere, I can group it, and I can group it by name. So I can quickly look at what's in my accounts payable broken down by name. That was very easy in a click. Also, if I go to customize this report, and the option is right there on the top, really easy to find, then over here I have the general stuff. Here I can, of course, edit my header and footer information. I can choose what rows and columns appear. So right now it's grouped by name. I did that on the face of the report. If I choose change columns, I can go down here and I can say, hey, you know what? I want to see my amounts broken down in terms of debit and credit. I don't just want an amount column. And I'll click up here and move this before amount, and credit goes in between the two. And now when I run that, it basically shows me separate debits and credits. Of course, being in accounts payable, most of it's going to be on the, well, actually I take that back. The payments will be on the debit side, whatever payments there are in here, and new bills, bills that I've entered, increases to accounts payable, are on the credit side. You got to know your debits and credits, of course, to understand that. Credits increase accounts payable or liabilities for that matter. Now, you've got lots of customization capabilities here. And if I want to memorize it, I can say AP by vendor, save it. Let's go back over to reports, and there it is in my custom report. So again, really easy to get into a report, tweak it, make some changes, make it your own, and then save it and get into that area here. That, my friends, are the 3 best bookkeeping software applications according to bookkeepers, according to me, based on the people that I've spoken to. Again, I don't think there's any question. QuickBooks Online and Xero are at the top. The question is what's number 3, and I think Sage 1 is a safe bet in terms of the number 3 cloud-based bookkeeping software application out there. As always, I hope you had some fun here and learned something along the way. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.